Yo, what's happening, y'all? Welcome in to Rivals Down South. T-Bob Bear and SEC Mike hanging out with you today. He is the host of the highest rated SEC football podcast. I'm a washed-up former LSU football player, and we are here to celebrate bowl season and look forward to bowl season. We got portal news on the docket today as well. As always, youtube.com/watch stadium. If you want to get involved, get your comments in there. Or if you ever want to get your videos in ahead of time to be played on the show, watchstadium.com/submit. Mike, what's going on, man? Bowl games are in the air, which means in this current era of college football, there's a lot of uncertainty in the air. Who will play, who won't play, and in some situations, you have different people saying different things. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go down the list. We're going to talk about some of these big quarterbacks that are making decisions currently. We'll start my alma mater, the LSU Tigers. Jayden Daniels, of course, just lifting the Heisman Trophy. More than that, lifting his NFL prospects throughout the year this year. This is a guy who is viewed as a day 3 guy, maybe like a mid to late round draft pick. Then, okay, maybe day 2. Oh, okay, maybe like into round 1. And now you're seeing him being mocked in the top 5. And yet he is still saying that he is undecided on the bowl game. Mike, do you expect Jayden Daniels to play?
For Jayden Daniels, no, I don't expect he will play because, like you said, his stock has risen on the NFL draft board. Seemingly, he is the number 3 quarterback on the board come the upcoming NFL draft, maybe even higher if he can supplant Drake May, as unlikely as that may have seemed a couple of months ago. But, if you're going to be a first-round pick, I don't think you got anything to gain in these bowl games. But this is just the state, kind of like you were saying, T-Bob, we're all in flux. This is all new. And the fact that we don't even know if Jayden Daniels is going to play. We don't know if Joe Milton's going to play. We don't know if Carson Beck is going to play or go pro. There's just so much uncertainty. We're all in kind of uncharted territory. And yet, this is just me making some educated guesses here, T-Bob, but I think a lot of this has to do with NIL and what these collectives are willing to pay these players to play in a bowl game, to come back for another season. I certainly think there are quarterbacks specifically that got paid in the SEC last season for this season that did not live up to the hype. So all of a sudden, the market gets reset. What you think you're worth may not be what it would have been a year ago even. So just a lot of uncertainty. And I think that, we're weeks away from the bowl games. We don't know who half the starting quarterbacks are going to be.
Well, and look, I'll stick with Daniels before we get into maybe some more market talk. But look, I love Jayden Daniels. Watching that man be the quarterback of a team that you cheer for was stupendous, astounding, amazing, incredible, spectacular, like whatever positive adjective you want to use. 90 plus plays of 20 yards. Like, it was the most fun I've ever had watching quarterback play, second only, and even then maybe not, because how dynamic it was, to Joe Burrow. So I don't want this to sound like if Jayden Daniels wants to play in the bowl game, hell yes, I'm there, man. Absolutely. Like, seeing Jayden Daniels one more time in an LSU uniform, get it to him, that would be awesome. But good God, for the love of God, man, don't do it. Right? Like, am I crazy here, Mike? Like where is the value for him? It's the ReliaQuest Bowl. Drake May and Caleb Williams, the guys that you're going to be directly competing with in this upcoming draft, they've already said they're foregoing the bowls. They're going, well, I don't think Williams made a pitch for the draft, but I'm assuming. But yeah, like why, 2 things. Why allow them to get a head start on that NFL training when we go directly against them? But the bigger thing, why engage with the injury risk? Your race has been run. You worked your ass off to get to this point. You've set yourself up for success in the NFL lives. You've given everything to LSU. You don't owe LSU anything at this point. And again, so then we arrive at, okay, is it money? And what are you hearing, Mike? I saw a report that maybe guys are getting a couple $100,000 just to stick around and play in the bowl game alone. Is that true?
I think it is, T-Bob, because, at the end of the day, that's all these bowl games are, and that's all they've always been.
True.
And it's filtered down to the players. It's a money grab. And when you see coaches and assistants don't honor the bowl games, why should the players? If this is a made-for-TV event and it's just essentially a cash out, well, then some of that is naturally going to filter down to the players. We have seen bowl games where top NFL prospects for both sides, all of a sudden they opt out, and all of a sudden the bowl game was very attractive when it was announced, no longer attractive to a television audience. So at some point, this was bound to happen. But, unique situation for LSU, T-Bob. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. But Brian Kelly would never say this because we want Jayden Daniels to play. We love watching him play. But you're right, he's proven everything. For next season, it may suit you to have Garrett Nussmeier get in there. We've seen him a little bit, but give him another start, give him a full game to give him further evaluation because they're hosting portal quarterbacks as well, including Vanderbilt's A.J. Swan. So clearly they are not completely sold on Garrett Nussmeier, or at least what they have behind Garrett Nussmeier. So this bowl would give an opportunity to help next season.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're exactly right. And I think, it's kind of funny because bowl games, as you get further and further down on the list, it's always been for the college football sickos, for the guys that just love the sport and really want to watch or love their program. And now more than ever, bowls are sicker than ever, given that they become this sort of pseudo preview of next year's team. Like you said, Garrett Nussmeier is the heir apparent. Well, now if Jayden announces pre-practice that he is gone, Garrett Nussmeier just doesn't get to play in the game. He gets a full 15 practice period in which to get ready, right? And then so it absolutely becomes like qualifying for a NASCAR race or an opening statement in a legal trial where Garrett Nussmeier gets to say, look, I know, you probably want to bring somebody in to add depth, et cetera. Like that's all well and good, but just know that I will be the starter of this team. Or if you go out there and you fall flat on your face against this Wisconsin team, well, then all of a sudden LSU's maybe looking up and they're going a little harder after some of these quarterback names in the portal. So I think it's kind of a fascinating time for all of college football, and the LSU situation highlights it. What about the curious case of Carson Beck? Been a weird couple of weeks for those Georgia Bulldogs as, again, it felt like all their dreams were coming true, and it's shocking how quickly fortunes can change. Now, all of a sudden, you have some attrition in the portal at the quarterback position, and nobody knows what Carson Beck is going to do. Reportedly asking for $4 million to return next season. Carson Beck was really good, but that Alabama game did a lot of damage to his brand and kind of the belief in him. Would you pay Carson Beck $4 million to remain at your school, Mike?
I think if I'm Georgia, I think I would, T-Bob, because I've seen what next year's schedule looks like. We've seen Brock Vandagriff, the backup, transfer out. We've seen the number one high school quarterback, Dylan Raiola. He hasn't backed out of his commitment officially, but all indication he's headed to Nebraska. All of a sudden, T-Bob, we're sitting here wondering, what do we have behind Carson Beck if he were to go pro? And they're another one that as soon as Malik Murphy, the backup at Texas, who, by no means did he wow when he played his 2 games here, started for Texas this fall. Georgia's already in the mix for him because they need an emergency in case Carson Beck does go pro. And like you said, that $4 million figure, I don't know if that's accurate truly or not. But from what I've been told, T-Bob, that's what he'd be getting if he was a top second-round pick. So that's what he's coming back to Georgia with. Hey, I want to come back. I want to improve my game. I want to be a first-round pick, but they're telling me I could be a second-round pick. This is what it's going to cost. If you can give me this, I'll stay here. So it's just a fascinating dynamic.
It's good business by Beck. Again, I think Georgia is backed into a hard spot here. I think they may have to. But at the end of the day, look, don't let the Alabama game loom too large on how you evaluate Carson Beck. There's still way more good than bad there. There's still way more potential there. There's a lot of meat left on that bone. And for Beck, how nice is this to be a player in his shoes nowadays, Mike? Because not only do you have the leverage to get that money out of your college, so then you get to stay in college and you get to continue enjoying being the big man on campus and playing a game that's easier in the NFL. But then if he does well enough, he's one of those rare guys where he could become the number 1 overall pick. So, yeah, he could already have like a mid to late first-round grade on him, but he's one of the few, and is kind of unique to quarterback, that can justify coming back because he could jump all the way up to number 1. Now, you got to help me out with this one. Joe Milton, How in the world is Joe Milton on the fence about playing in this bowl game?
Well, again, I think it all goes back to NIL, T-Bob, because he's already accepted, he's going to the Senior Bowl, so he's not coming back. All these quarterbacks, T-Bob, in the SEC, first starter, they're getting paid. I'm not saying they're getting millions of dollars or anything like that, but they're getting paid at their university because they've earned it, because the spotlight and everything that goes in with it. I'm not complaining. But a lot of fans are kind of complaining because we all know they're paying the backup too, Nico. And it's Nico's team next year. A lot of fans, they want to see Nico in the bowl game. They don't even want to see Joe Milton. So, again, this is a weird dynamic we've never had in college football where fans are pushing the starter out the door. So unless he gets that price point he wants, I think that's got to weigh heavily on his decision whether he's going to play in this bowl game or not.
Well, and it's interesting because like we talked about the other day, I think this is actually quite a big bowl game for Tennessee. I think they need to win this game. I think Heupel needs this to set the tone for the offseason. And Brian Kelly does as well. And they both may be relying on some younger, more unproven guys, but carry that hope of the future. Now let's talk about maybe the most interesting one in here, and that's Jackson Dart. So remember, a few weeks ago, Lane Kiffin on a coach's show before the ULM game said that Jackson Dart will be returning for 2024. Jackson Dart would later say there's a time and place for that, but right now I'm really just focused on winning this bowl game. And again, I know there is an NIL element to this. How do you interpret this quote? Quote, I've always wanted to play a bowl game like this. I've always wanted to play in a really big bowl game. For the labor of everything that you put in, you want to end things off the right way. And for the guys that are coming back, it carries a lot of momentum for them. It's just a great opportunity for us as a team to see how far we've come and to really finish this thing off the way we wanted to. It's a great way for the guys coming back. Do you think that Jackson Dart is counting himself among those guys?
T-Bob, you said a lot of words, but all I could hear in my ears was Jerry Maguire, show me the money. Because you're already seeing the hype. Ole Miss going to be preseason top 10 if Jackson Dart returns. We've seen the schedule. Looks very manageable. If Jackson Dart returns, they're getting this out there already. Hey, pay this man his money. Let's make a run at the 12-team college football playoff. And I think if Jackson Dart comes back, they will do that. They've got 4 quarterbacks on their roster right now, T-Bob, that they're paying NIL to. It's a wild situation, but Jackson Dart is who they're paying the most, and he probably wants a pay bump, and I think he deserves it given everything we've seen on him on the field.
Well, and you, dude, I mean, look, we're all human. Dart's got to have some warm feeling of revenge in his belly, doesn't he? Getting to make Lane Kiffin sweat a little bit. Kind of getting back. I mean, Lane Kiffin, after they collapsed last season, Dart becomes the scapegoat, and all of a sudden he's trying to replace him with Walker Howard. He's bringing in Spencer Sanders, and well, now Dart, the shoes on the other foot. When we get back here on Rivals Down South, let's talk about some of the big transfer portal winners, and you'll see why Mike is so bullish on the Ole Miss Rebels. Keep it locked right here on Stadium. The U.S. Army Bowl features some of the top high school recruits from around the country and will be streaming free on Stadium. That's right. You can tune in Monday, December 18th. That's this Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern and watch the future stars on Saturday, and a lot of times even Sunday do battle on Monday. Free Stadium, Monday night, 8 p.m. U.S. Army Bowl. Let's talk about some former stars that are now playing in the college ranks that are transferring all over the country. Let's look at the SC. We looked at the SC. We looked at the portal. We tried to determine who the biggest winners are. And we have 4 teams to discuss here, Mike. And interestingly, 2 teams, I'm kind of like, yeah, they got better, but what does it mean? 2 could actually make noise going to this next era of college football. Let's start with one of your favorite, the Kentucky Wildcats. That right, Mark Stoops getting it done, dude. He gets Georgia's 4-star backup in Brock Vandagriff, replaces Ray Davis with Chip Trayanum from Ohio State. Let me be clear. I think these are big wins for those players, right? Chip Trayanum got 85 carries in 12 games for the Buckeyes this year. He might get that in 4 games with the style of offense that Mark Stoops wants to run. Great move for him. Brock Vandagriff buried on the depth chart. Carson Beck may be returning. He gets a chance to play. Great move for him. I just don't know that this actually changes my expectations for Kentucky at all.
I hear you. They also picked up Macklin from North Texas. He is related to Jeremy Macklin, of course, NFL fame, former Mizzou Tiger. But this is what Kentucky does, T-Bob. They struggle to develop particularly quarterbacks. This is going back to 2016. They have not started a quarterback that they did not get transferred into the program. Kentucky's trying to win. And even, these seasons they win 7-8 games, their fans are upset. So they're not going to settle for a rebuild. So I like the fact that Kentucky is out here identifying pieces, players that can plug and play, that don't have a ton of tread on the tires. But unfortunately, it is kind of boom or bust, kind of like it was for Devin Leary this year. He failed to live up to the hype, and thus so did Kentucky. But had he hit, Kentucky may have been a very dangerous team. They're putting a lot of faith in Brock Vandagriff, former 5-star dual threat quarterback. If he hits, if he's the next Will Levis, Kentucky's going to be, a team to reckon with in the new look SEC next season.
See, I mean, I guess that's kind of my problem, right? Like, he would have to hit bigger than Levis. And you're right, Vandagriff's the key here because Trayanum's nice, but the only way Kentucky's going to break through the glass ceiling, like how did Mizzou finally do it? Because they got Brady Cook. They got elite quarterback play. So it's got to be Vandagriff. I'm still not sold on him. But, I mean, look, Mike, they got UGA. Like, they're out of the East now. They got Ole Miss showing up on the schedule, Auburn showing up on the schedule, Texas showing up on the schedule. I just don't think there's enough oxygen in the room. And I kind of feel the same about South Carolina. Again, they had a good wide receiver in Jade McGowan from Vandy, a couple of really good running backs in Oscar Attaway from North Texas, and we all know about Rocket Davis. Right, I mean, just a badass from Arkansas, rushed for over 1,400 yards in 2022. The O-line coach of that Arkansas team will now be the coordinator for him at South Carolina. And so, yes, good job, Beamer, making your team better. Great landing spots for these players. But damn, like, just where does this middle, lower class of the SEC even fit in now, Mike? There's just no room left.
Right. And it sure would be nice if they had Spencer Rattler back, because that'll be key to the whole thing is who steps up at quarterback. I love Rocket, like you said. Jaden McGowan at Vanderbilt. I think we're going to look back, T-Bob, and say, man, they had a lot of talent at Vanderbilt. They had no clue what to do with it. And I'm looking right at Jaden McGowan. He was so explosive, over 10 yards a catch, over 80 career receptions at Vanderbilt. Will Shepard, the other receiver, he's at Colorado now. I mean, I like these additions to South Carolina, like you said, but they lost a lot too. Their fans were freaking out. Is Beamer the guy? They're a busy recruiting weekend. They get as many commits as they had departures via the portal here. So they're kind of just they're gaining, but they're losing at the same time. It's a unique position to be in. But they really need a quarterback to hit to make all these pieces work.
Now, the team that did find a quarterback and that did break through this team is Missouri. And no program in the country fascinates me more in this modern age of college football than does Missouri, because all of their weaknesses of the past, well, they can pay their way out of them now. And you're continuing to see them do so. They are landing guys out of high school. We all know the state legislature changed the high school rules so these recruits can get paid. If they commit, they can start getting paid in high school if they commit to Mizzou. That's bipartisan. How bad do you want to win? Okay. Mizzou's all in. And here you go, and you look at the portal, they get the number one cornerback in the entire transfer portal in Toriana Pride out of Clemson. They had Marcus Carroll, who's a great running back rusher, over 100 yards a game at Georgia State this year, 13 touchdowns, first team all Sun Belt. He's going to look to follow in Cody Schrader's footsteps. Like, if I'm the two teams we just talked about, I'm looking to Mizzou as a guiding light of, oh, no, you can do this. You can break through, but I think Mizzou's just in a better spot than those other two are. And I don't know, Mike, this looks sustainable to me, even with the talent that's being added in Texas and Oklahoma in the SEC.
Right. I love these plug-and-play type players, arguably the top corner, arguably the top running back in the portal. And Mizzou may not be done yet, T-Bob. Caden Green, Oklahoma offensive lineman. He's probably going to be a freshman All-American. He didn't show up to practice this week. They had no clue what in the world's going on. Well, it sounds like he's headed to Mizzou as well. Oklahoma's mad about tampering, this, that, the other. I say, welcome to life in the SEC, Oklahoma. You just got here and you found out how dirty we play. I think Mizzou is becoming a destination for a lot of players that are from that state, maybe went elsewhere. Yep. Now they're seeing what Drink's building there. They want to come home. They want to compete at a high level.
But we all know who the portal king is and has been, and the guy who's been as committed to the portal as anybody else since it opened up, and that is Lane Kiffin. And my God, Mike, Ole Miss has maybe got themselves a good one. Now, they landed Key Lawrence from OU, as you said, and Chris Paul Jr. from Arkansas, a couple of solid defensive additions there, but they are rumored to be very close to getting Princely Umamamilan. Oh, I just butchered that name. Princely, you know Princely. Okay, look, 11.5 TFL, 7 sacks, a guy who some NFL scouts said was a first-round draft pick, and yet he is choosing to enter the portal to return to college. And if I'm Lane Kiffin and I'm trying to get Jackson Dart to come back and continue the hype train, Princely, that is a big money free agent signing that pushes you into true playoff contention.
Yeah, they may not be done yet. Walter Nolan, Juice Wells, Tyler Barron, all leaning to Ole Miss. Ole Miss could be portal kings of kings this offseason.
He's doing an incredible job. We'll see if it pays off. Still to come, looks like Nick Saban may be up to his old tricks once again. Keep it locked right here on Rivals Down South. Welcome back. Rivals Down South. YouTube.com/Watch Stadium. If you want to get involved. T-Bob Bear SC, Mike, and Nick Saban. Look, we have AJ McCarron on this show, and he has given us multiple inside stories about how Nick Saban leaves no stone unturned when it comes to preparing for opponents, and this is no different, as he has hired former Michigan linebacker coach George Hilo ahead of their bowl game with Michigan. He hired this man who just served as LB coach last year for me. He hired them solely to try to win this bowl game.
Dude, Nick Saban is 2 steps ahead of everybody in this profession, T-Bob, and it's clear as day. I mean, he's been the most dominant coach for longer than I can remember any coach ever being in college football. This is just the latest master move here by Nick Saban. This is going to be the difference in them destroying Michigan.
And look, and you could say like, well, you know how much insight can be gained, but as you kind of point out, it's the psychological edge. You're making them think about it, right? You're making Michigan think, okay, well, what is George telling Nick? And then what does that mean that we need to do? Because we know that Nick knows. Damn you, Saban, just lose. You have a great day. We'll see you Monday.